You were in the free speech zone. No safe spaces allowed. Nightcaps with Nate.
Coming to you live from just outside the swamp of the nation's capital. Get ready for invigorating talk, commentary, and debate on the issues affecting your life.
You hear this, guys?
Grab your favorite drink. It's Nightcaps with Nate. Now, here's Nate.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Nate, Nightcaps with Nate, and I got with me, we used to do the Redneck Wednesdays. We're not really doing that anymore. It's kind of just whoever I can get the hell on Wednesday in the middle of summer, Wednesday. So, Kevin, he's kind of a loser, so he's always available. Jasper, you're always a loser, so I'm just playing, man. You guys are great. Glad that you guys can be on. Jasper is usually on, like, Mondays and stuff like that. Kevin is always on Wednesdays almost, and we haven't had this in a while. Kevin, I think I gave you the hosting on this thing, so you might have to re-give me the host. I don't know how to do it.
Let me see if I can do it for you.
If you want to hear the videos, I got to share with you on that. So I know you guys are seeing some of the behind-the-scenes things. That's what you get when we don't have a professional producer, except for my wife, my co-host. Hey, if you haven't liked or if you haven't liked or followed our page, please do that, and we will appreciate that. Also, if you want to comment, go ahead, feel free to comment at the Nightcaps and Nate, but start a watch party. Hey, Amber. Hey, Judy. Thank you for joining us. This is the middle of summer, so not as many people watch, which is cool because then I can make these little stupid mistakes and not feel like an idiot. So, how's everybody doing? Kevin, let's start with you. How you doing, buddy? How's your summer going?
It's going well, man. We're going on a nice vacation coming up here on the 10th, so looking forward to that. And been doing a lot of fishing, so life is good.
Oh, and where do you fish at, by the way?
Right now, mostly at Beaver Dam, which is right down the road right here in Ashburn, or I'll go out to Fredericksburg to Lake Mooney.
Really?
So,
All right, I just messed something on my thing. Not mean to do that. And Jasper, how is it going for you?
It's going all right. Can't really travel like we want to. The military got us on a restriction right now, so we can't go where we want to go. We want to go home for 4th of July, but unfortunately, that's outside the radius of everywhere allowed to travel. So we're trying to get our family to come see us. But other than that, I start work on July 6th, working as a social worker here in Illinois. So.
Oh, you're actually going to start working as a social worker?
Yeah, I'm going to start working. Yeah, I've been trying, but COVID kind of screwed everything up. So they're finally, they started hiring again, because we just got PCS here in January. So
yeah,
it's been fun.
All right, hold tight. Let me fix the screen. It looks like we are frozen. So
You were in the free speech zone. No safe spaces allowed. Nightcaps with Nate.
All right, so this is the first time I've used Zoom in a while. Just give me a heads up, everybody, if everybody can hear me. I know that we are frozen. Hopefully it'll unfreeze itself here in a second here. If not, then what I will do is I will jump off and jump back on as far as not this radio program will continue. But in fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to restart this whole thing. I'm sorry about that, you guys. I know that you just can hear my voice, but we have a lot to talk about tonight. Tonight, we are actually going to get into the debate about Bubba Wallace and whether or not it was a real hoax or not. Man, I got some people fired up today that, I don't mean to offend anybody, but sometimes it just happens. And so, with that being said, that's never my intention to actually offend anybody, but we will be getting into this debate. Jasper, can you hear me loud and clear?
I hear you.
All right, buddy. We're just going to wait for Kevin to come back on, and then we will get back into it. So you're going to start as a social worker, what, for the city or state?
It'd be for the state, but I'm not working for the state. I'm actually working for a nonprofit that the state uses to do their social work. It's weird. Illinois and Hawaii are kind of set up the same. They have the Department of Family Services, the actual department, but they outsource a lot of their social services to nonprofits because I guess it's easier that way. The state doesn't have to spend as much money. So I'll be working for a nonprofit that actually works for the state, and I'll be a foster care case manager. So I'll be working with foster families.
Right. All right, cool. So as Kevin was coming on, I said that tonight's main topic that we're going to get started with is was it a hoax? If it was a hoax, was it a hoax that Bubba knew about? And
Oh man.
if not, was it just NASCAR fumbling this thing, which was dumb? Maybe NASCAR should have held off with announcing anything until investigation. Do you guys know who the Hodge twins are?
Yeah.
They're like these big old muscle builders. They used to be a weightlifting show, but they're kind of conservative black guys now. And they did a big thing on it. Like, did you really need 15 FBI agents? You know, but so we're gonna get into that one there. So let's just dive right in. Let me get my thing going here. Bottom line, why am I doing this? I think we're in a place right now and in a time that everything is hypersensitive, and it should be. George Floyd thing kind of kicked everything off. A lot of introspection came. For instance, you would have asked me 2 months ago, did Colin Kaepernick kneel? And then, I found out the backstory behind that, by the way. Originally, he was going to sit down, and a veteran came to him and said, hey, you know what? Don't sit down during the national anthem. That's just rude. Kneel in prayer as if you're praying. That way you're honoring the flag, but at the same time, you're taking a knee for a good cause. A lot of that got lost in translation because it was the first and new thing. Anytime something new happens, it really can take a lot of people off and take them by surprise. We have that sense of patriotism, especially in the NFL and NASCAR. And, in retrospect, unlike my liberal friends, this is what makes conservatives better. Okay? If they're true conservatives, they're always willing to learn. One thing about my liberal friends, my Democrat friends, a lot of them, not all of them, but many of them, is that they're never willing to learn. Like, I changed my position on climate change. Okay? Now, am I a super tree hugger? No. Am I personally going to kneel for the flag? No. But in retrospect, maybe, just maybe, we should have just, said, hey, or maybe the message should have been made clear, hey, he's kneeling because a veteran said, hey, don't sit for the flag, kneel for it. And with a lot of dialogue, maybe this crap can happen. And the things that we lose nowadays is the cancel culture, is that people are scared to talk to each other. Because people are scared that they're going to get doxxed. That's where they haunt you on the internet, put out your phone number, your address, and all that stuff. And people just quit talking to each other. And we got to stop that nonsense. The one thing that's going to help is if we can learn to dialogue without fighting and taking offense. Sometimes we all just need to chill the hell out, right? But
on top of that, sometimes we gotta adjust the way that we deliver our messages too, because the delivery from one person's perspective could be changed slightly to make it more acceptable by the other party.
Especially when you're doing it through, let's say, you and I, we debated over Facebook, where I finally had to say, hey, man, we're friends, like on personal message.
Yeah.
I'd rather drop the subject than lose a friend. And you told me that you had a family member that defamily membered you. I don't know how that happens, but bottom line is that you don't see, there's communication that's in person or even over Zoom where we can see each other's, facial expressions and stuff. 97% of communication is not our verbal words. So there's a lot that's lost in that. And we try to make it up with emojis here and there, but, they can only go so far. So Bubba Wallace, I said on Monday, I don't know if anybody watched the show on Monday. On Monday, I was like, hey, let's be really careful before we do it. Let me just play just a small little clip of what I had said on Monday. And hopefully you guys can hear it. Let me get this going. Man, I don't know how to feel about this next story, guys. Okay? This next story, rallies around Wallace as FBI investigates the noose. So, Bubba Wallace, supposedly, his team, I'm not sure he's at any part of it, but his team found a noose hanging in his thing. I personally am worried that this is going to turn out to be a false story. Not because I think Bubba Wallace is lying, but I think somebody did it. All right, so I was wrong too. I thought somebody from his team may have planted the noose there in order to bring on that sympathy. I was giving Bubba Wallace, I don't know Bubba Wallace. There's a lot of sports people that are like, yeah, he's shady like that. He would do something like that. And then there's others like, no, he would never do something like that. Like, everybody was shocked when O.J. Simpson was running from the police in the Bronco. Nobody thought, oh, man, Jews couldn't have done that, if you're even old enough to remember that. So I was wrong there. But I knew, based on other times that, like here, that there was a lot that the media will blow out really quick or NASCAR blew out really quick. For instance, remember that kid that faced off Nick Sandstrom, faced off against Nathan Phillips? He was an Indian guy, and the media took it all out of proportion and people like actors were posting on Twitter, that's a punchable face of a kid. And really what he was doing was being respectful. He was sitting there smiling because his people said, hey, if you're engaged, just sit there and just listen and don't react, because they were kids, right?
Yeah.
And so he sat there and he was smiling because he's getting yelled at by this older Indian guy. And sure enough, come to find out, CNN, Washington Post, NBC, all of them got sued by him because they had to retract. And they actually, a lot of them have settled with him already. The kid's a millionaire now because the media overreacted. You notice that the media always overreacts, by the way, when it's against conservatism or it can hurt Trump. And then they underreact when it's Democrat, or they just won't report it until they're forced to do it. And then, obviously.
Can I add to this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my thing with this Bubba Wallace discussion that needs to be recognized is that everybody that reacted automatically saying that it was a Jesse Smollett type situation was an overreaction, because what people need to understand is what he is going through as a Black man in America, what he's going through and this time in place, right? So he drove the Black Lives Matter vehicle 2 races ago. He had compassion. Well, I can't remember what the saying was, but it was compassion and 2 other words that was listed on there. Meanwhile, there's another Blue Lives Matter vehicle driving. People blamed him for the Confederate flag being canceled at NASCAR. So he got hate messages.
Yeah, I bet.
People had to have messaged him and just gave him hell about all this, right? And so you have all this pent-up things that are going on around his life, being an example in NASCAR, and then his teammates saw what looked like a noose and was like, everything that's going on, we just have to be careful, and we have to make sure that this isn't what it is. So you can call it a hoax, but realistically, it's not a hoax. What it is it was a teammate taking care of his team and ensuring that his driver doesn't go into a situation, get into a car driving 200 plus miles per hour around a racetrack with a horrible state of mind. And so we, instead of taking it as like, well, it had to be a hoax or it had to be a Jesse Smollett type thing, we should take it as like, what is that man going through at this point in time, and how can we understand in his shoes what it is that he saw or what his team saw? That's my thing.
Hold on, let me read his statement real quick, just to segue off that. Bubba Wallace relieved that the roping garage wasn't news targeted him, acknowledged his embarrassment in his tweet. He said, it's been an emotional few days. First off, I want to say how relieved I am that the investigation revealed that this wasn't what we feared it was. I want to thank my team, NASCAR, and the FBI for acting swiftly and treating this as a real threat. I think we'll gladly take a little embarrassment over what the alternatives could have been. Make no mistake, though, some will try. This should not distract from the show of unity we had on Monday and the progress we made as a sport to be a more welcoming environment for all. Go ahead, Jasper.
I think, honestly, the country needs to take a break. We need to take a chill pill.
Breath.
Both sides.
Breathe. Yes.
To breathe. Because it's too quick to jump to judgment on one way, and it's too quick to jump to judgment on another way. The noose in the garage, I was concerned because when the story first dropped, I was like, okay. I kind of expected there to be some kind of backlash. NASCAR has historically been redneck country, and redneck in the South is not totally used as just a peaceful term. Rednecks. When we say rednecks in the South, Black people, we say rednecks. Those who fly the Confederate flag, those who will call you the N-word, and they're racist. They're not going to hide it. They're racist. They don't like you. So NASCAR was always dedicated to be for the rednecks, which is fine. I like NASCAR. I like the racing. I don't know why I'm interested in it, but it's interesting to me. Whatever. But when they said there was a noose found in his garage, I didn't overreact. I was like, wow, like that's kind of serious, because a noose to a Black man, that's a threat. That's a threat against my life, So yes, that's something serious that, we as people of color, Black people, somebody comes to me and say, hey, we found a noose in your garage, I'm not going to sit around and wait and say, oh, well, let's wait and see if it's real. No, I'm like, look,
wait for the FBI to come in.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, here's where I had a problem with it, is that he said that he didn't know about it until the NASCAR told him. To me, that let's and you're around the military because your wife's in the military. Kevin and I both be in the military. If something ever got out, in this day and age where we all take pictures of everything, we take a picture of our food and post it on Instagram. I just can't fathom the idea that he did not see it And since he's been around garages, that the pool is common. That was the only thing I had with it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because, again, I don't know NASCAR. I don't like NASCAR. I mean, not that I have a problem with the organization. I just think it's boring and never got into it. But and I'll tell you why people are pissed on the right about this, because time after time the media has jumped on us for false stories such as Jussie Smollett, or such as this young Muslim lady who said that supposedly got attacked on the subway train in New York City and she ended up having to plead guilty to a felony. In the news put it out, the president-elect just promotes this stuff as very anti-Muslim, very Islamophobic, and he's just condoning it. And you get kind of tired of being bashed. I kind of understand now how Muslims felt after 9/11, all the good Muslims. The good Muslims were like, oh my God, every time there's a terrorist attack, I'm sure that they just sweating bullets like, oh, please, Lord, don't let it be another person from my religion. And every time something like this happens, it used to be when Jussie Smollett happened, except for that it happened downtown Chicago. And I'm like, there's no Trump supporters down there. But
yeah, nobody believes that story. I'm sorry.
Or the kid that was smiling at the Indian. For the first day, I'm sweating bullets going, oh my God, come on, white people. Or the other day where during a Black Lives Matter protest, some redneck chick with barely any teeth left in her head's got this Confederate flag going, I'm teaching my kids to grow up to hate you. The media is going to seize on that one person and assign it to all Trump people as deplorables. And that's where that's where I think a lot of pent up anger came from this thing, and that the possibility that this could have been a hoax. First of all, I hate the organization Black Lives Matter. It's just a front for the Democrat Party. They raised like $1 billion to the Democrat Party. I love the movement, the idea behind it, that Black Lives Matter. Yes, Black Lives Matter, and in retrospect, maybe we should all chill the hell out of. If Colin Kaepernick says, hey, this is my peaceful way of protesting while supporting the flag, and he wants to kneel, by all means. And I was one last year that said, hey, Detroit Lions could use a great backup quarterback. I think it's been a couple years, even if you're just trying to punish him. Let the guy come back because he's a decent quarterback. Not great, but he's a decent one. Go ahead, Kevin.
And since we're on this Black Lives Matter and obviously what goes with Black Lives Matter and rednecks and all this, and it goes down to racism, right? I was watching a video today of Emmanuel Cho. I hope I said his name right, but he said something that really stuck to me. He said, stop trying to be not racist, start trying to be anti-racist.
Yeah,
and that's the key here. Is that we need to focus as a community. We need to, if you're not racist, then don't be racist. Like don't try to like excuse yourself of racism. Just be anti-racist. Like exemplify what it means to be a good person, what it means to love one another, what it means to be united as a nation. Because the key here is about being united as a nation, coming together, Black lives, white lives, Mexican lives, Latino lives, Asian, all people coming together in this nation and standing strong as one.
Totally agree with you.
That's what we focus on.
Now, I heard this guy long before this all kicked off, this guy who was doing the anti-racism, he wrote a book about it. Now, he is going a little too far with it, in my opinion, because to be an anti-racist is everything has got to go through the privilege lens and this lens and that lens, and that's exhausting. I have a hard enough time just trying to get myself out of bed, go to work in the morning, let alone constantly re-examine myself. And I do re-examine myself, but to the people that are bowing down, Jesus washed the feet of the people that were below him. The Pope washes the feet of prisoners. I'm not going to get down and wash Jasper's feet. I love you, Jasper. But I'm going to show through actions that I'm not a racist, and I shouldn't have to prove myself as not being a racist. It should be the benefit of the doubt that I'm not a racist. Just like it's the benefit of the doubt that you're not a child molester. It's just because a lot of people do nasty, dirty things doesn't mean that you are that. And I think the Bible says actions speak louder than words. And hopefully my actions speak louder than any words, because a lot of words can be taken out of context. They can be used against you, especially as we text and write and we're hyper connected to each other. They did a study. This is before all this came out. This is during the Jussie Smollett thing. And they found that political science found that fewer than 1 in 3, less than 33% of the 346 allegations of hoax, less than 33%, maybe more than 66% are fake. The hoaxes are fake. And what that does is cheapens, it gets everybody riled up for no reason, but it also cheapens when something real happens. It's like the boy that cried wolf, where everybody in the Me Too movement, oh my God, he looked at me the wrong way. I felt like I was sexually harassed, and the guy's losing his poor job. For something that 10 years ago wouldn't have even been anything. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, some of the stuff that Joe Biden does is pretty creepy. Some of the stuff that, some people smacking a waitress butt is totally inappropriate. I don't care how good it was 20 years ago. But some things, we just got so hypersensitive. And I believe what Jasper's saying. Everybody needs to stop. Everybody go home for 48 hours and just cool down. And let's reemerge and let's have dialogue. Let's talk. Okay?
You know what I did?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know what I did? Because I was like mentally anguished. I was messed up, when all this happened, when George Floyd died, and I was watching TV every day. I switched from CNN to Fox. I wanted both sides because unfortunately they don't give you, both sides. So I was just trying to see what everybody was saying. I was trying to see where the country was. And, 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? Turn off the news, turn off the TV.
Yeah, that's why I stopped my show for over a week.
Yeah.
I said I was going to do it to September. You can ask my wife. I thought the 1 week that I was at Myrtle Beach was going to be great. And then I come back and I did a couple and I was like, I still got it. It was just so much going on in the world with COVID, with murder hornets, with racism, with, people dying. Now they're burning down the streets and tearing down statues. I mean, it was just too much. It literally effed with my psyche. I was so consumed because to get ready for the show every night, I have to do 2, 3, 4 hours of research. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes than just doing this show. And just like Dave commented here, 1 John 3:8, dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. I believe that. I come to people, when I first met Kevin, I thought he was a little weird because he had this beard and no mustache and, a guy dressed different every day. One day he dressed like he was a cowboy, next day he'd have a tie on, and you're like, who is this guy? But I saw the Hebrew writing and I was drawn into it because I went to seminary and I learned a little Hebrew and Greek and we started talking and stuff. But I always try to come to people and give them the benefit of the doubt first. I think in America, maybe that's what we do. Let's give each other a little bit more benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah.
Any last words before we move on to kinder subjects? No?
I would just say that,
Go ahead.
that I've experienced what me and my wife have talked about multiple times is racism, and a lot of people call it or reverse racism. People see me, big red beard, tattoos, big bulky guy, cowboy boots, cowboy hat on, and they automatically think, oh, he's probably a racist. And I've been reported at gyms. They didn't even talk to me. People just go to the front desk and say, hey, that big red bearded dude is a racist. And I'm like, well, why?
Yeah, it's called a skinhead.
He's married to a black person, to have black woman. Like, do you know that?
Right.
Like, oh, you just say, and that's the thing is like people look at the book instead of looking to figure out who the character is and what the person is in their heart. And that's the key, is finding out who people are in their heart and basing your judgment off of that.
That's true. And I've been back when I was out of uniform back, because you couldn't have facial hair in the military, and I shaved my head bald or something, and people were like, they would assume that I was like a skinhead or something. Like, come on, man. That's like me walking up to a guy with big glasses, the balding head, kind of like if I kept growing my hair out, I was just bald right here. Like, oh man, he must be a child molester. I bet you that dude's got a windowless van. It's just stupid. All right, let's move on, man. Guess what happened today? So the Democrats, who are so woke, they blocked the GOP police reform bill from our one and only black Republican Senator Tim Scott, and he had a lot to say about it. Let me play for you here what he had to say about them blocking this because they didn't get every single thing that they wanted. And it's politics. They just didn't want Trump to have a win. Here you go. Let's play this.
How does that work around the country when instead of getting 70% of what you wanted today and tomorrow and next week, you get 0? And you're going to wait until the election to get more. Okay. Well, why wouldn't you take the 80% now, see if you can win the election and add on the other 20%? You got to be kidding me. Because the who matters. They cannot allow this party to be seen as a party that reaches out to all communities in this nation. And unfortunately, without the kind of objectivity in the media that is necessary to share the message of what's actually happening, no one will ever know.
Amen.
I love Tim Scott, man.
Tim Scott for president.
Tim Scott, bro.
He should be our first black nominee for this party. well-spoken, great guy, smart as a whip.
But he told 100% the truth there.
And he tells 100%
He
the
did.
truth. He said, hey, you could have had 70% and this is what I loved about Bill Clinton. Okay, and there's not a lot I loved about Bill Clinton. I'm not talking about Bill Clinton today. I'm talking about the 90s. He was a pragmatist, and he actually said one time, he's like, you know what? If I could get 60% of what I want, it's a slippery slope. So give me that 60 from the Republicans. I'll sign it into law, and then I'll work on the other 40% later. And that's just how he was. It wasn't an all or nothing, binary choice. He was a pragmatist. It's just like Trump. Trump says, hey, I will not only give green cards to the dreamers, I will give them citizenship if you guys will give me A, B, and C. And because that would have been comprehensive immigration reform, they blocked it because they said, oh, no, we want this without this. And that's just dumb. That's not how it used to be. It used to be you went to Washington and compromised a little bit. But now...
It's like Democrats, they're running around with red eyes, and they have one focus, and that focus is hate Trump, hate Republicans.
It ain't just
hate
Democrats.
Trump, hate Republicans.
Republicans did it when Obama was in office. There were times when the Republicans could have came together with Obama and at least got something done. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm tired of both parties. I'd only vote for the Kevin and I. Kevin's going over to Joe Jorgensen because he's tired of it. I'm about halfway to that point, but I won't because we already debated this. We're not gonna debate it here, but to me, it's lesser of two evils. That's how we got freaking George W. Bush. But I guess it would have been better than Gore. We are a two-party system. It was
better than Gore.
But and I do have to give Trump props that at least he did what he said he was going to do. He's one of the only politicians actually not.
Well, that's the good thing. That's the one good thing about Trump is that he has such a huge ego, and he has such a huge drive or such a huge need to make himself look good. He'll do the job that he says he's going to do because it's going to feed his ego and make him feel better about himself. Do I think that he's doing it for the people all the time? No, I don't think he is. I think he's doing it for himself.
Do you think
he's a self-gratifying human being?
Yeah, but do you think first of all, you know why lawyers don't stay in law, they end up in politics, the good ones? Because they're all narcissists. They're great speakers. They can convince anybody to do anything. They can convince 51% of an electorate to vote them in. And that's just it. That's why most of them are lawyers. I don't think any of them really do it but to stay in power. And that's kind of a good thing because then we need people to do what we want them to do so that they can stay in power because they don't want to lose power. But it can also be a double-edged sword. Hey, guess what? There's a miracle out there. Hey, have you ever been in Walmart? You ever been in Walmart and you see like, they're rolling around those buggies and you're like, come on, is she really need that buggy or is she just lazy and big? You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make fun of big women or big men, and then all of a sudden the buggy, the battery runs out and it's like, a miracle. She walks and she'll get up and actually finish the rest of her shopping. Now, I don't know. I had to quit doing that. I got convicted by the good Lord because, we don't know if there's, maybe she can walk, but it's just really painful. We don't know, right? But I used to be like, oh, my Lord, Whitley, look at the miracle. She walks. Hallelujah, right? Same here, man. The media, they're all about this COVID thing, but guess what? From the Hill, a new study using data from 315 of the country's largest city found no evidence linking Black Lives Matter demonstrations and spikes in new coronavirus cases. In a paper published by the National Bureau of Economic Research, analysts found that predictions of broad negative public health consequences of BLM protests were far too narrowly conceived. Levi Ernst commented, yes, that only happens when people go to church or to the beach. That's the only time you get it. Ruben Acosta, go figure. Only spike at Trump get-togethers. Marcus Bay, you mean miracle like they can say God bless them and so they can march with God's blessing? Bottom line, I don't have a problem with the protests. What I do have a problem is those same people that were protesting were the ones that were castigating me for not wearing a mask at Walmart. Maybe not them. First of all, most of those protesters aren't even black. They're the white wokesters. Those are the ones that piss me off the most. And the reason why is because they're the ones that will judge you first. Like, how dare you not have a mask on? You're killing your grandparent. And I'm like, shut the hell up. You don't even know me. Get out of my face. Like, I've had people literally. There was a lady at Walmart the other day yelling at another lady saying, how could you not wear a mask? My wife saw it. I think it was my wife that saw it. She told me about it. I mean, get the hell out of my face, man. My body, my choice. But it's funny because the media, man, as soon as Trump announced those rallies, oh, Lord, COVID's spiking, even though it's just more testing, as far as I can tell now. Plus, we knew as we opened up the economy, it was going to spike a little. It's called managing the caseload. But, man, when it comes to any of their protests and stuff that the liberal left stuff, then all of a sudden, boom, man, we're safe.
I don't listen to none of that anymore because at first when coronavirus came out, nobody cared. Nobody talked about it. I knew about it because Hawaii. We were getting travelers from Asia all the time. Hawaii is a big hub for Asian travel, so they were talking about it. Oh, coronavirus is serious. Be careful when you go to the airport. Because I was driving for Uber. Be careful when you pick up passengers. That was early January. And I'm like, okay, well, got on a plane to come to the mainland because we got PCS. Then nobody was talking about it. Nowhere. Then you hear Trump said, "Oh, we're stopping travel from China." And I knew, okay, that makes sense because there's a lot of, flu. But then you hear other people, oh, he's xenophobic. He's starving division. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Like, this is real. This is a real sickness that's coming over. And then all of a sudden in February, middle of February, they're like, oh, well, maybe this is serious. Maybe Trump's not taking it serious enough. And on March 14th, when the World Health Organization finally declared it a pandemic, everyone's like, well, Trump didn't do enough. He didn't do anything. Forgetting what had happened 30 some odd days earlier when he actually implemented the travel ban. So I'm like, I don't care anymore. They can say what they want to. Nobody's
And we already know
you.
through fecal sampling that's been in the United States since at least December. So it's been in Washington and all the major hubs around this area. Kevin and his wife can both attest to it. We had like this weird flu go through our office twice in a month. You're sick, you came back, you felt a little better, and everybody was back out sick again. And people were getting tested for flu, and it wasn't flu. So, I mean, who the hell knows? Oh, by the way, and I've been saying this, I'm glad I got you guys back on the show because I've been doing the show by myself since we were back, and I don't like it. But I get lonely. But 2 more people are arraigned. They're wokesters, man. The Black Lives Matter thing. A lot of people are like, a lot of the black people are like, don't burn buildings, don't do this because we want this to be a real march. We don't want it ruined with rioting. Yes, there was a lot of looting to go on, but the people that actually started breaking the windows and starting the fires, thank God for the Trump administration because he sent the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to investigate all these. And man, there have been so many indictments. And guess what the common thread is? They aren't black. They're white troublemakers that went in to start trouble. Here you go.
Did you see the dude
2
with
more.
the umbrella?
What?
No, I didn't.
The
What?
dude, he had an umbrella. He had like a paint mask on. He was the dude that painted on AutoZone and broke the first glass on the AutoZone.
Yeah.
Come to find out, they did like a facial like comparison, and it looks like a Minneapolis police officer was the one that was.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah. But there's not enough
did it finally
to
come out?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I think it was St. Paul police officer came over to Minneapolis, but which is I used to live there. It's about 5 miles apart, 10 miles apart. But yeah, another white dude. And look here, I think this guy's Asian or Hispanic or something, but another white girl. Man, they just love. By the way, they love burning shit. These white women love burning stuff. Antifa, your white women love burning stuff. They had lawyers in New York City burning stuff. Here you go. More wokesters that are facing serious prison time for turning a peaceful protest into a riot. Help create $2.4 million in damage. Headline: 2 more arraigned in Grand Rapids riot, bringing total to 14. Claire Newhall and Omar Suarez Landero were arraigned Tuesday, June 23rd. Kudos. You know why? Because before the days of all these cameras, I'll just tell you, from white America, be like, see, they get mad, they burn down their own cities. Oh my Lord, them stupid black people, man.
But historically, blacks won't riot preemptively. We won't riot preemptively. If you look at any major riot in history done by people of color, it's always been after our demands have not been heard or our hurt hasn't been heard. Rodney King happened. We didn't riot immediately after Rodney King happened. We rioted. The big riot happened when they were acquitted, and when all the officers were acquitted. Ferguson. When did Ferguson really blow up? Ferguson really blew up after Michael Brown's the killer of Michael Brown, or the police officer, was acquitted and nothing happened to him. That's when Ferguson really blew up.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that either, though. You shouldn't be rioting for that. What I'm talking about here is that it isn't black people who are the ones that are upset that are causing the damage to buildings. Now, based on video, I'm going to be fair, and I'm not trying to sound racist here, but they sure have a lock on the looting part. But when it comes to actually breaking the windows and setting shit on fire and causing the mayhem and getting it ignited, it has been white women overwhelmingly and skateboarders, white skateboarders with their Antifa skateboards or whatever, just pounding cop cars and stuff and beating people with it. So what I'm trying to say is, from a white perspective, a lot of times before the days of video and stuff, white people would be like, there they go, burning down their neighborhoods again.
You're right.
When in fact, they're not the ones burning down the neighborhoods. It's our people that are going
Even
into their
conservative black
cities.
people would be saying the same thing.
They sure
Like
would.
even now, I'd be like, wow, it's white people doing it. Because unfortunately, I was born in the hood. I started being raised. But I got taken away, put in a foster home, grew up middle class. So, I'm like, wow. Like even now, I'm like, man, like my people got issues.
Well,
But
what
then
they're
I
doing is
see,
they're trying to
yeah,
start the riots, these white people to make a point and to help the black people protest, but all they're doing is hurting the cause. So they're idiots.
exactly.
They're absolutely freaking idiots. So that's why I like, man, there's been video after video where there was black people like, no, and they actually like would tackle a white person and actually hand them to the police that were trying to
Because they're not there
break
for the
windows.
cause. They're not there for the cause.
They're there.
Or snap a skateboard out of somebody's hand.
Yeah. I love it. That is true protest and stuff. And these white Antifa people, Trump is kind of taking them on. Here's this brand new ad being released today. Hold tight. I think you already saw it, right?
Antifa is destroying our communities, rioting, looting. Yet Joe Biden kneels down and his staff sends money for bail. And Biden fails to stand up to the radical leftists fighting to defund and abolish the police. With Biden kneeling to the left, we'd have chaos in the streets. President Trump is standing up for us, keeping our communities safe, protecting minority-owned businesses, and always standing for our flag.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So there you go. That's the latest ad. For the most part, I like it. I think if he stays on message, he can win this election. But if he doesn't stay on message, he's screwed. He's just gonna be
He sounded pretty good so far.
Yeah, I mean the
So
last couple
far
weeks
at his rallies,
and
yeah.
he packed out an Arizona rally with all college students the other day. I'm gonna have that up in a second. I watched some of it.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the good thing. Here's why the elections are so important. The Senate confirms their 200th judicial nominee from Trump, a legacy that will last well beyond November. 200. It took Obama 8 years to get 205, I think. He did that in years, him and McConnell. So that's pretty good. Flipped. Actually, the Ninth Circuit has actually kind of been flipped, which is really good because they're way out of control. Left coast. Here's a surprise that I do not agree with. Let me tell you what, my white friends, you're going to think I'm an idiot. Oh, it's heritage. You can't erase history. Guess what? I saw a meme today and it just summed it up. What if you were in a church and all you saw were statues of Satan? You might not, you'd start wondering, hey, who's their God? Is it Satan or is it Jesus Christ? You know what I'm saying? So why in the hell, if you're a true patriot, which Republicans say, hey, we're patriotic. We are the patriots. We are the party of patriotism. Don't you take down that Stonewall Jackson statue. That's my redneck voice. Guess what? Why in the hell are we celebrating traitors? Patriotism is not celebrating traitors. It should be the Republicans saying that we demand to tear all that crap down. In fact, it was the Democrats of the 50s that put them all up. The Dixiecrats, as they called them. Robert Byrd was a Klansman. He was the KKK Grand Wizard for West Virginia.
And Hillary Clinton's mentor.
And okay? But surprisingly, even in this woke period that we're in, where all the polling says, oh man, we're all doomed, conservatism's doomed, liberalism and socialism, that they're on its way up. One study 2 weeks ago, 44% of Americans say Confederate statues should remain standing. That was a Morning Consult Politico survey with 1,990 registered voters from June 6 to June 7. 44% of Americans believe the statues should remain standing, while 32% said they should be taken down. So then you would think, okay, well, the last couple weeks of unrest is really going to change people's minds, right? Study comes out yesterday from Harvard Capps Harris poll, released Tuesday to the newspaper The Hill. 58% of respondents now say that the statues should remain, while 42% said they should be removed. So, in both instances, less people are undecided, and a huge majority of the country. That means to get 58%, you got to have Democrats even saying, hey, yeah, keep them up. And Republicans. So I don't get it.
Because it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. I don't think a statue matters.
I do think it matters. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Not in the grand scheme of things.
No, not in the grand scheme of things. No, but it's a piece of the puzzle. Why are we naming military bases after Confederate generals? Those Confederate generals, 618,222 people died during that uprising. on both sides, Union and Confederate. Americans, 618,000. And what do? Instead of condemning the Confederacy, we have them going up all over the place. The only place that Confederate statues should be in are museums or the nation's capital, which is kind of like a big museum. Does that make sense? Besides that,
So
to me, I don't think.
okay,
Go ahead.
so I'm gonna play because I'm not a proponent for keeping or taking. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. Like whatever. But a lot of the Confederate generals were war heroes of other American wars. So yeah, the Confederacy that was traitorous. They absolutely right. The Confederacy failed. It was a traitorous path that they went down. However, a lot of those generals who fought with the Confederacy, a lot of the soldiers and officers who fought in the Confederacy, won a lot of the wars that the early wars that America partook in, that possibly wouldn't have been won without their military minds and their bodies and their sacrifice in those early wars. So are we to forget their entire body of work? This is just me being a devil's advocate here. I'm not arguing for or against, but
I
are we to
agree.
forget their whole body of work?
You can learn a lot. The Germans can learn a lot off because he was a brilliant mind. Might not be popular to say, but Adolf Hitler was a brilliant mind. He knew how to convince people, and they can learn a lot off him and his body of work. But they don't have a statue of Adolf Hitler in Berlin.
True. But they're still paying for his treachery. So
okay,
it's another thing.
We're still paying. Actually, that was the first part of us wiping out our original sin. Just think about it. And when my dad was born, when your father was born, we couldn't even, well, there wasn't technology, but you and I wouldn't even be sitting at the same lunch counter that you come from.
Yeah.
We couldn't even drink from the same water fountain. So a lot of that stuff is still pretty fresh. That's why a lot of, there's a lot of distrust among really old black people because they grew up in that crap. I don't blame them, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And I understand the argument. Like I said, I'm not arguing for or against. I was just putting that point out there.
And I'm not some social justice warrior wokester. You know that. I'm just a pragmatist. I'm just a good old American. That's all I am. Kevin, you're awfully quiet, bro. Scaring me.
He's ready. He's about to blow up at both of us.
Did you take your Adderall today? Come on, buddy.
I know, I'm good. I was just looking up the because Jasper mentioned the different wars, and I was looking up Robert E. Lee's track record and what other wars he fought in. With the Confederates, 5 years ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said here till I was blue in my face trying to tell you why we should leave them up and why we should leave them alone. But as humans do, we change over time. Me and my wife had a Confederate flag sitting on our table in our living room in the Marine Corps, but we don't have that flag anymore. We got rid of that stuff because I've changed my mentality on it. I still study the Civil War. I just recently started studying it again, and there's more to the conversation than whatever what the typical conversation is about, right? But at the end of the day, take them down, leave them up. I don't care why, because I'm not focusing on yesteryears. I'm focusing on tomorrow.
There you go.
That's my focus, and that's what I want to pay attention on to, is bringing this nation together. That's all I care about. And if getting rid of the Confederate stuff is a way to build the bridge, if that's how we build the bridge on our side, then we need to get rid of them and start building the damn bridge.
Yeah. And I agree with you, but I think that we have museums for a reason, and that's probably where we shouldn't be celebrating insurrection in our country.
We got plenty of veterans in our time, in our day and age. We got plenty of veterans that have done amazing things that are strictly just stuck in like the Marine Corps Museum and stuff like that. Bring their stuff out and put it out there in the middle of the Times Square and stuff. Replace these things with current veterans that are doing great things for our nation today.
Right. There you go, Congressman. National Guard deploying unarmed personnel to protect D.C. monuments. I do agree with that. Washington, D.C. is a federal enclave. Just in the National Guard has agreed to send unarmed members. I don't agree with them being unarmed, by the way. They should at least have a sidearm because no person should be forced to do any sort of protection mission without being armed, but that's up to there. They're going to assist the U.S. Park Police in securing Washington's national monuments. Trump has also said you tear down one of the national monuments, you face up to 10 years in prison under an existing law. Totally agree with that as well. We cannot have lawlessness. Tired of the lawlessness. I think most of America's getting tired of it too. All they want now is peace. I think everybody wants like a week just to not think of any of this stuff, where they don't have to hear about anything. Moving on, the appeals court has ordered the judge, this activist judge, to dismiss ex-Trump advisor Michael Flynn's criminal case. The judge said, or the appeals court said today, hey, look, it's always been the prerogative of the executive branch of whether or not to pursue or continue pursuing charges or not. And a judge is the judicial branch, and they have no right to question the executive branch unless it was clear something. So the appeals court said, hey, if the Justice Department wants to drop charges against Flynn, that's their prerogative, and you cannot stop it. My favorite spokesman ever, Kayleigh McEnany. Today's decision by an appeals court to dismiss the case against Lieutenant General Michael Flynn is a victory for both justice and truth. All Americans are entitled to equal justice under the law and due process. No American should ever be unjustly targeted by the government. And the more that comes out about it, the more this stuff stinks because Biden, who originally said that he didn't know about any of the wiretaps going on and he didn't know about Michael Flynn being targeted and his phone being tapped, he's just straight up lied. In fact, first he was caught. He was talking to George Stephanopoulos on ABC News and on one of those Sunday morning shows, and he said, I didn't know about it. Then Stephanopoulos, actually, who is a Democrat, actually was a Clinton aide, actually President said, hey, we know that you attended a now famous January 2017 Oval Office meeting within President Obama and other top officials where they discussed Flynn. Biden then claimed he understood the question to be whether he had anything to do with Flynn's prosecution. He said, I was aware that they had an investigation without specifying who they were, but that's all I knew about it. And this is just nothing but a distraction.
Bastard.
Well, kind of find out he lied again, because Peter Strzok notes had just came out. He was that disgraced FBI agent who was texting his mistress, the other FBI agent, saying, we got to do everything to prevent this guy from becoming president. And sure enough, they really tried. That's called the deep state. But apparently, however, newly released handwritten notes from former FBI agent Peter Strzok shows that not only was Biden aware of President Obama's order to investigate Flynn, but he had suggested that Flynn had violated the 1799 Logan Act, maybe that lost on the books, for speaking to then Russian ambassador to the U.S., Sergei Kozlak, as incoming national security advisor. So, he's a liar. Actually, you know what? He actually has an affirmative defense. I think he has dementia. He'd say, hey, I didn't know. I don't even know what I ate for breakfast this morning.
Is it an affirmative defense if you know you have dementia, so you use dementia as your defense?
I don't know.
Hurt my head just saying that.
Hey, you should go to law school. So we all know that dead people vote Democrat, and kind of like everybody that either are dead or not very kosher, they tend to vote Democrat, it seems. Have you noticed that? So Michigan, with that great Gretchen Whitmer that's I always talk about on this show. Oh, the people Democrats depend upon to win. You are who you vote with, I said. Michigan will register all inmates to vote upon release from prison. It ought to be automatic now. Michigan is in a pilot program.
That'll be a mistake.
Why?
I mean, it's going to be great because I don't know about you. I know a lot of inmates, unfortunately, but a lot of inmates are not liberal. They're not. They get
That's what
jail,
another buddy was saying to me. They turn conservative in jail.
They get educated and they realize, hey, the 1993 crime bill screwed me. You know, who made the crime bill? The Democrats.
Right.
Who was in charge right now? The Democrats. Who was the prosecutor? A Democrat. Who was the governor? A Democrat. They're like, I'm not voting Democrat. No.
Yeah.
So
you want to see some super intelligent people? Talk to some people that just got out of jail because they got nothing but time to read and read and read.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the Bible and stuff.
Ministries. You want to see somebody that knows the Bible? Find somebody that went to church in jail. They know the Bible. I look at them and I'm just like, whoa. When they don't read the Bible, what do? They study up on history.
When I was in seminary, I was doing some sort of like a class where I had to go into the local jail in Ohio and do like prison ministry type stuff and pray with prisoners and stuff. And they did. They know the Bible because they have nothing to do. First of all, a lot of them are like, oh, Lord, they're crying upon God because how could I be here? And so what they do is they turn to God, and then part of turning to God, they get those little Bibles in jail, and they read them over and over and over again. And they really study Scripture. Fortunately, sometimes it's just not a lasting impact, and then they reoffend. But this could be a good thing. I see it. You're the second person who said that, by the way.
Cool programs in Oklahoma, man.
Huh?
One of the best Christian rappers. His name is Brian Trejo. He actually he's an ex-con, and they got some pretty cool programs out there for
I didn't know he was an ex-con. That's cool. So, breaking, Missouri Republican Senator Roy Blunt has just blocked an attempt by Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar to push legislation through the Senate that would promote or ensure mail-in and early voting during the pandemic. I say great because, A, the U.S. Postal Service is very unreliable. And with the exception of the military and the elderly, there is no reason that your ass can't get up and go vote. I think that
you can't guarantee that ballots are going to actually live citizens. You can't
guarantee any of that. You
yeah.
can't guarantee. Let's say you were at work, right, and I grabbed your ballot, and you and I, or hey, my new libertarian friend right there. Well, my old friend who's now libertarian, older friend, and what if I was sitting at his house, like, man, he doesn't really care about voting, so I grab his ballot and I vote the way I want to vote. You know what I'm saying? It could happen.
Yeah.
And there's just no way that we could do that,
There's no way to correct it once it's done.
Yeah, that's like getting rid of voter ID at that point. I mean, you're giving it you. There's no way to validate the person that put the information on that paperwork is the right person, and one person could vote 15 times if they get their hands on enough of these ballots. Meanwhile, some of those people are going to the polls and they get ballots and they're getting sent out. So now you get a double vote. There's no way to keep track of all of that.
I think the best way we can do it is like the military has cat cards. Give everybody a voting card, a voting ID, where you got to plug it or use your thumbprint to plug it into your computer. So one thumbprint, one vote. If you have a social security number, you get a thumbprint reader. One thumbprint, one vote.
Yeah, but then you're registering biometrics with the government, and then that brings in a whole other thing. And then I would probably vote libertarian at that point if they went with that thing. Honestly,
I mean,
because I don't want
pretty much.
It's probably the only feasible way to do it electronically. Is
you know what you could do? They have the Real ID Act anyways with your state, so you go and you get a real ID, the ones that can get you on the airplanes and military bases now, and you show up with that. And if you don't have that, you can still cast a ballot that's called provisional ballot. So if it comes down to a very tight election, they start counting those provisional ballots, and you have 48 hours or 72 hours to come and present 2 more forms of ID, and your vote will count. I mean, there's all types of things that we can do. Stacy says, Stacy Linda says, though, we should be only living on the now and what we have built years now, not live through old issues that lots of great people have tried to fix and make better through all the years, no matter the race, because it shouldn't be race. It's only supposed to be about all of us people as one. Post there. So I'm glad that he blocked that. Moving on. You said you watched that speech in Arizona?
Yesterday, the Arizona one? Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
he's getting beat up.
He spoke from the heart.
He's getting beat up because he said there's like 19 names for the Chinese flu, the Chinese Communist Party flu, Kung flu, Wuhan flu. Then there's
he's just playing to the base there though. He's not
just
being
trying
serious.
to be funny. Well, first of all,
he's being facetious.
This is the only time that we've been so politically correct that we don't call it. SARS was called SARS, and MERS was called MERS because it came from Middle East. In fact, ironically, this year reminds you of 68 and 69 when they were going through the what's that called? The Hong Kong flu. So, I mean, we've always called the flu from where it originated. This is stupid that we now are so politically correct that we actually have to create a scientific name that we never use.
COVID-19.
Yeah, coronavirus disease of 2019 is what that all stands for. So stupid. So, heard it was great. Guess what? This is the silent majority in action right here. When you get 3,000 young people in there cheering and screaming, I mean, that's pretty good for a Republican. Usually we depend on more middle-aged and older votes, people the more mature vote. So that's good stuff for him.
Well, you see, it's gonna. I'm sorry. It's the numbers. I mean, are going to be astounding. And in November 3rd, when the election is held, if they don't allow mail-in voting, which is going to definitely be fraud, the numbers are going to be staggering, and people are going to be wondering again, where is Trump getting all this momentum? Where's he getting all this support from? Because people, they keep driving up the rhetoric. They keep saying this stuff, and even if any of it was real, we're numb to it now.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's because it's so old. It's like, orange man bad. In fact, a lot of times at Washington Post, on their thing, when I see the thing, all I put is orange man bad, orange man bad. And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's all I ever hear from you guys. It's like the boy that cried wolf. The guy, and I'll tell you, one time in 2016, and this was before we were even as woke as we are now, I had a pollster call, and it was a black female. I could tell, it was a black female on the other line. And, even I was a little weird in there. Like, well, who? It was the first time I'd ever been polled, by the way. And they said, if the election were held today, would you vote for the Democrat candidate, Hillary Clinton? And they went through the candidates, Joe Stein and all that. And for a minute, I was like, oh, I gotta tell this lady, she's probably gonna think I'm the biggest, like, racist or something. Because that's how we were conditioned by the media and Twitter and Facebook and stuff. And I was like, Donald Trump, and I kind of felt like, yeah. Luckily, she was a professional. She just went on to the next question. But, that's what that effect is. That's why his support is higher in actual internet polling when they use a select group from internet and stuff. Federal judge upholds Trump administration's rule requiring hospitals to disclose negotiated prices, which is awesome. If you want to bring down price of drugs, this is how you do it. And the Health and Human Services has released $15 billion to the coronavirus relief for Medicaid and CHIP. Stories that you won't hear about in the mainstream media for some reason, or if you do, it's like on page D23 or something, like way back there next to the classified ads. That's good news, man. If the media were fair, conservatism would actually win the day, because it really is a pragmatic approach to everything. It's not crazy. Publish the prices. Think about this. A lot of dental procedures or your LASIK eye surgery, especially in the beginning, wasn't covered by insurance. That's why you saw all these specials on there. Each eye, $199. And yeah, it's like, I'm not trusting my eyeball, dude. But it did drive down the prices because they were all competing and saying what the prices are. Still happens in plastic surgery to this day. Breast implants, $9,999. They don't want to hit the $10,000 mark. Liposuction. They plastic surgeons have to actually negotiate their prices and sell themselves to stay in business. Yeah. Now, that is a good idea for what Trump did. Federal judge has upheld Trump administration's rule requiring hospitals to disclose their negotiated prices with insurance. Because here's the deal. If you go, right, to a doctor and you don't have insurance, not only do they charge you money because you don't have insurance, but they charge you their standard price. They won't even say, hey, you know what, I feel bad for you. We're just going to charge you what Medicaid pays or Medicare pays or Blue Cross Blue Shield pays. Because they actually negotiate. That's why they call them in-network doctors. Their network of doctors have price caps on them. If you are on TRICARE, like all of us have been, sometimes they'll send you the what they billed the doctor and what TRICARE actually paid, and you're like, they only got like $48 for my office visit when they billed out $136 or something, But if you're uninsured, you pay that $136. So I like this rule where Trump says, hey, no, you go ahead and we're going to make you publish all your negotiated prices so that individuals can settle with you too. You get $1,000 hospital bill and it'll cost Medicare $246. You might say, hey, I know you're not going to give me Medicare rate, but I'll give you $299. Do you agree? Agree? Perfect. Boom. Saved you $700. What do you think?
Me and my wife were talking the other day, and I was talking about like whenever they use a piece of equipment in the hospital or in a room, it's like the price is just gouged, and you're like, how many people have you used that piece of equipment on? That thing's been paid off 300 times already by the price, and so. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Put the prices out there for everybody.
Sometimes you feel like those hospital administrators have no souls, man, because
it's not them. They just have to do what they got to do. They charge everything. And you know who you're really paying for? Those inflated prices are for illegal immigrants who go there because they don't have a social security number and there's no way of tracking them down, and you're actually paying their bill. Final thing, pro-Trump group ad they're releasing in Arizona, $400,000 in Arizona and online. It's like one of those Super-PAC ads going against Biden and his mental fitness. Let's take a look at it. Fun.
Does Joe Biden have the mental capacity to keep America safe?
We always love them. That's who we are.
Is Joe Biden making any sense?
Well, let him go. All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
Does Joe Biden have dementia?
We can afford to do it. We can't afford not to do it. I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
In a world losing its mind, we don't need a president who's already lost his. The Committee to Defend the President, paid for and is responsible for the content of this message.
You know why we have to go that route? You know why we have to go that route? Because the media does this to Trump every day for free. It's unfortunate we actually have to pay for it. And so we actually have to go a little bit overboard in the 30 seconds that we got. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. We have got to go. I am down to my last 10 seconds. Thank you. We will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy.
This has been Nightcaps with Nate. Please join Nate for a nightcap every weeknight at 9 Eastern here on Facebook Live.
Peace.